Hey guys, Ponce here on the public test realm again. This time I'm doing a brief balance change that they proposed on the public test realm. Before I get into any of this stuff, I just want to remind everyone the public test realm, whatever they do here is not necessarily final. It's only final when it goes live, so no one start freaking out, if you like Kassadin. But we'll see where this goes. In any case, this is what they proposed for now in terms of working on some Kassadin balance issues. They're pretty well. It's overall a nerf. There's some buffs. They're kind of shifting around what he does. It looks like. But first off, base stats have gone down. Base MR has now gone down to 30 from 31.25. Not massive in that regards. The bigger actual issue is that MR per level, he doesn't get it anymore, at least according to this patch we're on right now in the public test round. It went from 1.25 per level, so because he is a melee champion, he used to gain MR per level. Now he doesn't get any of that. That's pretty big. Aside from that, his how his Q works has been shuffled around in terms of its power a bit. The mana cost overall has gone down a little bit. I wouldn't worry about that too much. It's not a huge deal. But generally, it costs slightly less at the higher ranks. It maxes out at 90 mana now instead of 110 mana per cast. But by the time Melsphere maxes out, it's usually not a big deal. The damage has been lowered. This is actually quite big. It starts out the same. So it starts out at 80 damage. So first rank is the same. Now, basically, why don't I tell you what the old damage was? The old damage was 80. At rank 2, it's 130, then 180, then 230, and then finally 280. Now it starts off at 80, goes up to 115, 150, 185, and 220. So the most important part to know about this is that it maxes out to 220 as opposed to 280. So that's 60 damage shaved off of it. That's pretty big for base spell damage. I haven't seen a nerf in terms of like raw base damage that big in a while, I don't think. I could be wrong, but that seems pretty big, yeah. Now the other thing that was changed about is silence has been reworked a bit in terms of how strong it is when. It used to start off at 1 second. It's a 1 second silence, ends at 2.6 at max rank. Now it starts off at 1.5 seconds and then caps out at 2.5. So it's like 0.1 second of silence off at max rank, which doesn't really matter, but you get 0.5 extra seconds of silence on first rank. So, it's shifted around a bit. Probably to compensate for his, the fact that his early game still sucks, and his late game is not going to be as powerful as it was. Next we have Rift Walk. Here's the other major, Rift Walk is the other thing they changed. Basically how Rift Walk works now is the initial damage that it deals is slightly higher. It starts out at 70 damage, goes up to 100, and then maxes out at 130 damage, like when you teleport onto someone. That's gone up from the old value, which is 60, 70, and then 80. So you actually get a lot more damage just off the initial hit at max rank. It's 50 extra damage, although the AP ratio went down to 0.6. It used to be 0.8. So some of you math guys can figure out what the breaking point is for AP when it's no longer a better. But the major difference, though, is now, when Kassadin used to teleport around, why don't I just highlight the thing, you guys can read it here. Basically, the main difference is each enemy champion hit by Rift Walk adds a stack of Void Surge for 8 seconds, causing subsequent Rift Walks to deal an additional 35, 50, and then 65 at a 0.4 AP ratio damage per stack. So, you know how you teleport around and then suddenly teleport onto someone for a lot of damage because the stacks would be on Kassadin himself? Well, now the stacks go on whoever you hit with the Rift Walk. So you can be teleporting around and, it still costs more mana, 100 more mana every time you do it. You can be teleporting around and then, your Rift Walk can cast a shit ton of mana when on your third or fourth cast or whatever, but it's not going to deal that extra damage. You have to actually be stacking stacks on a person to get more damage onto them. That might change his play style or how he needs to be played a bit. So yeah, overall, these are some pretty big nerfs. It's interesting that they're doing this. This is kind of an unusual thing. Normally I see, when Riot is balancing this, if this goes through, like I said, I suspect some things might change a bit from now between release. Or even if it's released this way, they'll rebuff him a bit again, kind of like they did Diana. Um, but yeah, this is aimed a lot more at kind of high-end elo stuff and competitive play more so, because I don't really see these nerfs being particularly relevant to most of the population of League of Legends. I mean, Kassadin's early game sucks, and that's why, it's very hard to play him. But then again, I do see, when Kassadin does go out of control, he really goes out of control. So I don't know. He's a tough thing to deal with. I noticed like a lot of the major nerfs that Riot puts down on people is people who have massive mobility. I talked about this in some of my other videos and how important mobility is. And then there needs to be trade-offs, and champions that have mobility and the massive damage, it's like they have the best of everything. Um, so like, Ari was just nerfed on the public test realm. We'll see how that turns out. So yeah, I guess that's the trend of things. Champions who have massive mobility will probably be getting some nerfs. We'll see how this one turns out, but wait a minute. Jarvan has massive mobility, and he hasn't been nerfed yet. And he's my main champion. Oh god!